Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Shiver. Okay, so I missed the other day's upload, and yesterday's, and I think another one. Something weird was going on with my computer, and I actually have not turned it on since working on it the other day. I think it was Wednesday. Wednesday is when it started messing up. I'm pretty sure. I've forgotten. The days kind of bleed together. Anyway, this is my first time turning on the computer, and so far everything's running fine. No weird grinding noises or anything. So yay. Anyway, how are you guys doing? Isn't it weird how I can't seem to keep to my schedule no matter how hard I try? It's like the universe itself is telling me to quit. Anyway, my family, my mom, my youngest brother, and my youngest sister, they went down, or up, to the Rooster Teeth convention. They left the other day, and hopefully they'll be back tomorrow. Because I'm off tomorrow. Or at least I should be. Anyway, we are in chapter 39, Sam, 42 degrees Fahrenheit, page 243. Oh, also, my mom only just now noticed that I started reading Shiver. Anyway, wow, a 2-minute introduction. My patchwork life, quiet Sunday, coffee on Grace's breath, the unfamiliar landscape of the lumpy new scar on my arm, the dangerous smell of snow in the air. I like that smell. 2 different worlds circling each other, getting closer and closer, knotting together in ways I'd never imagined. My near change of the day before still hung over me, the dusky memory of wolf odor caught in my hair and on the tips of my fingers. It would have been so easy to give in. Even now, 24 hours later, I felt like my body was still fighting it. I was so tired. I tried to lose myself in a novel, curled in a squashy leather chair, half dozing. Ever since the evening temperatures had begun to pitch sharply downward in the last few days, we'd been spending our free time in her father's largely unused study. Where was I? Other than her bedroom, it was the warmest and least drafty place in the house. I liked the room. The walls were lined with dark-spined encyclopedias, too old to be useful, and stacked with dark wooden award plaques for marathon running. Too old to be meaningful. The entire study was very small and brown. A rabbit hole made of dark leather, smoky-smelling wood, and manila folders. It was a place to be safe and productive. I need that. What was I saying? Grace sat at the desk doing homework, her hair illuminated like an old painting by a couple of dull gold desk lamps. The way she sat, head bent and stubborn concentration, held my attention in a way that my book didn't. I realized that Grace's pen hadn't moved in a long while. I asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Excuse my spit." She spun the desk chair around to face me and tapped her pen on her lips. It was a charming gesture that made me want to kiss her. "Washer and dryer? I was thinking about how when I move out, I'll either have to use the laundromat or buy a washer and dryer." I just looked at her, equal parts entranced and horrified by this strange look into the workings of her mind. "That was distracting you from your homework?" "I was not distracted," Grace said stiffly. "I was giving myself a break from reading this stupid short story for English." She whirled back around and leaned back over the desk. There was a quiet for several long moments. She still didn't put pen to paper. Finally, without lifting her head, she said, "Do you think there's a cure?" I closed my eyes and sighed. "Oh, Grace." Grace persisted. "Tell me then. Is it science, or is it magic? What, what you are? Does it matter which? Of course, she said, and her voice was frustrated. Magic would be intangible. Science has cures. Haven't you ever wondered how it all started? I didn't open my eyes. One day a wolf bit a man, and the man caught it. Magic or science, it's all the same. The only thing magical about it is that we can't explain it. Fair point, fair point. Grace didn't say anything more, but I could feel her disquiet. I sat there silently, hiding behind my book, knowing that she needed words from me, words I wasn't willing to give. I wasn't sure which of us was being more selfish, her for wanting something that no one could promise, or me for not promising her something that was too painfully impossible to want. Ah, that's a good question. Let me know down in the comments who you think would be more selfish in this situation. That's going to be a tough call for me. Before either of us could break the uneasy silence, the door to the study pushed open and her father came in, his wire frames fogged from the temperature change. He scanned the room, taking in the changes we'd made to it, the unused guitar from her mother's studio leaning against my chair, my pile of tattered paperbacks on the side table, the neat stack of sharpened pencils on his desk. His eyes lingered on the coffee maker Grace had brought in to satisfy her caffeine cravings. I used to drink coffee when I was a little boy. I think I've mentioned on the channel a few times, but I was basically Manny from Modern Family. And I had to quit because mental reasons. What was I saying? He seemed as fascinated by it as I had been. A child-sized coffee maker for toddlers who needed a quick pick-me-up, see? We're home. Have you guys taken over my room? It was being neglected, Grace said without looking up from her homework. It was too useful to let it go to waste, and now you can't have it back. Obviously, he observed. He looked at me, sunk into his chair. What are you reading? I said, Bel Canto. I've never heard of it. What's it about? He squinted at the cover. I held it out so that he could see it. Opera singers and chopping onions and guns. To my surprise, her father's expression cleared and filled with understanding. Sounds like something Grace's mother would read. Grace turned around in the desk chair. Dad, what did you do with the body? He blinked. What? After you shot it, what did you do with the body? Oh, I put it on the deck. And what? Grace pushed away from the desk, exasperated. I would be too. And what did you do with it after that? I know you didn't leave it to rot on the deck. A slow, sick feeling was beginning to knot in the bottom of my stomach. Grace, why is this such an issue? I'm sure Mom took care of it. Grace pressed her fingers into her forehead. Dad, how can you think that Mom moved it? She was with us at the hospital. I didn't really think about it. I was going to call Animal Control to pick it up, but it was gone the next morning. So I thought one of you guys must have called them. Grace made a little strangled noise. Dad, Mom can't even call to order a pizza. How would she call Animal Control? That's worrisome. Her father shrugged and stirred his soup. Stranger things have happened. It's not worth getting worked up about anyway. So I was dragged off the deck by a wild animal. I don't think other animals can catch rabies from a dead animal. I'm pretty sure they could if that were the case. Someone let me know. Grace just crossed her arms and glared at him, as if this comment was just too stupid to dignify with a response. Don't sulk, he said, and pushed the door farther open with his shoulder to leave. It's not becoming. Her voice was ice cold. I have to take care of everything myself. He smiled at her fondly, somehow reducing the value of her anger. We'd be lost without you, obviously. Don't stay up too late. The door softly clicked shut behind him, and Grace stared at the bookshelves, the desk, the closed door, anything but my face. I closed my novel without noting the page. She's not dead. Mom might have called animal control, Grace said to the desk. Your mom didn't call animal control. Shelby's alive. Sam, shut up. Please. We don't know. One of the other wolves could have dragged her body off the deck. Don't jump to conclusions. She looked at me, finally, and I saw that Grace, despite her complete inability to read people, had puzzled out what Shelby was to me. My past clawing out at me, trying to steal me even before winter could. I felt like things were getting away from me. I found heaven and grabbed it as tightly as I could, but it was unraveling, and its insubstantial thread sliding between my fingers too fine to hold. No. That was shorter than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, chapter 40, Sam. 58 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I looked for them. Every day that Grace was at school, I searched for them. The two wolves I didn't trust, the ones who were supposed to be dead. Mercy Falls was small. Boundary Wood was not as small, but more familiar, and maybe more willing to give up its secrets to me. I would find Shelby and Jack, and I'd confront them on my own terms. But Shelby had left no trail on the off the deck. There we go. So maybe she really was gone, and Jack too was nowhere. A dead, cold trail, a ghost that left no corpse behind. I felt like I had combed the entire country for signs of him. Sorry. I don't know. Anyway, where was I? I thought, vaguely hoped, that he'd died too, and ceased to be a problem. Been hit by some Department of Transportation vehicle and scooped up in a dump somewhere. But there were no tracks leading to roads, no trees marked, no scent of a new-made wolf lingering at the school parking lot. He had disappeared completely as snow in summer. I should have been glad. Disappearing meant discreet. Disappearing meant he wasn't my problem anymore. But I just couldn't accept it. We wolves did many things. Change, hide, sing under a pale, lonely moon, but we never disappeared entirely. Humans disappeared. Humans made monsters out of us. Let's see. Why not? Chapter 41, Grace. 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Page 250. Sam and I were like horses on a merry-go-round. We followed the same track again and again. Home, school, bookstore, home, school, home, etc. But really, we were circling the big issue without ever getting any closer to it. The real heart of it. Winter, cold, loss. We didn't talk about the looming possibility, but I felt I could always sense the chill of the shadow it cast over us. I'd read a story once, in a really dire collection of Greek myths, about a man called Damocles, who had a sword dangling over his throne, hung by a single hair. I don't know this story. If any of you do, let me know where I can find it. That was us. Sam's humanity, dangling by a tight thread. On Monday, as per the merry-go-round, it was back to school as usual. Although it had only been 2 days since Shelby attacked me, even the bruising had disappeared. It seemed I had a little bit of the werewolf feeling in me after all. I was surprised to find Olivia absent. Last year she'd never missed a single day. I kept waiting and waiting for her to walk into one of the 2 classes we shared before lunch, but she didn't. I kept looking at her empty desk in class. She could have been just sick, but a part of me that I was trying to ignore said it was more. In 4th period, I slid into my usual seat behind Rachel. Rachel, hey, have you seen Olivia? Rachel turned to face me. Huh? Olivia, doesn't she have science with you? She shrugged. I haven't heard from her since Friday. I tried calling her, and her mom said she was sick. But what about you, Buttercup? Where were you this weekend? You never call, you never write. I got bitten by a raccoon, I said. I had to get rabies shots, and I took Sunday to sleep it off, to make sure I didn't start foaming at the mouth and savaging people. Gross. Where did it bite you? I gestured toward my jeans. Ankle. It doesn't look like much. I'm worried about Olive, though. I'm worried about Olive, too. She's getting fat. My dog is named Olive. I'm not being... Never mind. I haven't been able to get her on the phone. Rachel frowned and crossed her legs. She was, as ever, wearing stripes, this time striped tights. She said, "Me neither." Or would you say neither? Do you think she's avoiding us? Is she still mad at you? I shook my head. I don't think so. Rachel made a face. We're okay, though, right? I mean, we haven't really been talking about stuff. I mean, stuff's been happening, but we haven't been, talking. Or over at each other's houses, or whatever. We're okay, I said firmly. She scratched her rainbow tights and bit her lip before saying, "Do you think we should, go over to her house and see if we can catch her?" I would. But then again, I don't really know the proper protocol when dealing with friends like this. Sometimes I really sound like Ted Cruz. I didn't answer right away, and she didn't push it. This was unfamiliar territory for both of us. We'd never had to really work to make our trio stick together. I didn't know if tracking Olivia down was the right thing or not. It seemed like kind of drastic, but how long had it been since we'd seen her or talked to her, really? I said, slowly, "How about we wait until the end of the week? If we haven't heard from her by then we..." Rachel nodded, looking relieved. "Coolio, I also say this." She turned back around in her seat as Mr. Brink was at the front of the classroom, cleared his throat to get our attention. He said, "Okay, you guys will probably hear this several times today from teachers, but don't go around licking the water fountains or kissing perfect strangers, okay? Because the health department has reported a couple of cases of meningitis in this part of the state, and you get that from... anyone? Snot, mucus, kissing, and licking. Don't do it." Luckily, oddly enough, because of my allergies, I have none of these problems. There was an appreciative hooting in the back of the classroom. Since you can't do any of that, we'll do something almost as good. Social studies. Open your books to page 112. That was one of my favorite classes in high school. And middle school. History was always my favorite subject, though. I always wanted to be a history teacher growing up. I remember one time I was telling my parents that I was like in the 5th or 6th grade at the time. I said that I wanted to go to college as a history major. And my dad said, what was it? He said something along the lines of, "That's stupid because then all you could do is be a history teacher." And I said, "That's what I want to be." And this got really depressing. Oh well. Where was I? I glanced at the doorway again for the 1000th time, hoping to see Olivia come through it, and opened my book. When classes broke for lunch, I snuck into the hall and phoned Olivia's house. It rang 12 times and went to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. If she was cutting class for a reason other than sickness, I didn't want her mother to get a message asking where she was during the school day. I was about to shut my locker when I noticed the smallest pouch of my backpack was partially unzipped. A piece of paper jutted out with my name written on it. I unfolded it, my cheeks warming unexpectedly when I recognized Sam's messy, ropey handwriting. I think I left Bronte outside. Again and again, however, we know the language of love, and the little churchyard with its lamenting names, and the staggeringly secret abyss in which others find their end. Again and again, the two of us go out under the ancient trees, make our bed again and again between the flowers, face to face with the skies. This is Rilke. I wish I had written it for you. I didn't understand it entirely, but thinking of Sam, I read it out loud, whispering the words to myself. In my mouth, the shapes of the words became beautiful. I felt a smile on my face, even with no one around to see it. My worries were still there, but for the moment I floated above them, warm with the memory of Sam. That's nice. I wish I had someone like that. I didn't want to dispel my quiet, buoyant feelings in the noisy cafeteria, so I retreated back to my next period's empty classroom and took a seat. Dropping my English textbook on the desk, I flattened the note on my desk to read it again. Sitting in the empty classroom and listening to the faraway sounds of noisy students in the cafeteria, I was reminded of feeling sick in class and being sent to the school nurse. The nurse's office had the same muffled sense of distance, like a satellite to the loud planet that was the school. I had spent a lot of time there after the wolves attacked me, suffering from that flu that probably hadn't really been flu. For a measureless amount of time, I stared at the open cell phone, thinking about getting bitten, about getting sick from it, about getting better. Why was I the only one who had? Have you changed your mind? My chin jerked up at the sound of the voice, and I found myself facing Isabel at the desk next to mine. To my surprise, she didn't look quite as perfect as usual. She had bags under her eyes that were only partially hidden by makeup, and there was nothing to disguise her bloodshot eyes. Excuse me? About Jack. About knowing anything about him. I looked at her, wary. I had heard once that lawyers never ask a question they didn't already know the answer to, and Isabel's voice was surprisingly sure. She reached a long, unnaturally tanned arm into her... Does she mean like it's a spray tan, or from a tanning bed, or that it's just a weird color, I wonder. Into her bag and pulled out a sheaf of paper. I've never heard that phrase. She tossed it on top of my poetry book. Your friend dropped these. It took me a moment to realize that this was a stack of glossy photo paper, and that these images in front of me must have been digital prints of Olivia's. My stomach flip-flopped. The first few photos were of woods, nothing particularly remarkable. Then there were the wolves, the crazy brindle wolf, half hidden by trees, and that black wolf. Had Sam told me his name? I hesitated, my fingers on the edge of the page, ready to flip to the next one. Isabel had tensed visibly next to me, preparing for me to see what was on the next sheet. I knew whatever Olivia had caught on film was going to be difficult to explain. Finally, impatient, Isabel leaned across the aisle and snatched the top few prints from the stack. Just turned the page. It was a photo of Jack. Jack as a wolf. A close-up of his eyes in a wolf's face. And the next was of Jack himself, as a person. Naked. Awkward. The shot had a kind of raw, artistic power, almost posed-looking, the way Jack's arms curled around his body, his head turned back over his shoulder toward the camera, showing scratches along the pale curve of his back. Poor guy. I chewed my lip and looked at his face in both of them. No shot of him changing, but the similarity of the eyes was devastating. That close-up of the wolf's face, that was the money shot. And then it hit me, what these photos really meant. The true importance. Not that Isabel knew, but that Olivia did. Olivia had taken these photos, so of course she must know. But for how long, and why hadn't she told me? Say something. Finally, I looked up from the photos to Isabel. What do you want me to say? Isabel made an irritated little noise. I wonder what kind. You see the photos. He's alive. He's right there. I looked back at Jack, staring out of the woods. He looked cold in his new skin. I don't know what you want me to say. What do you want from me? She seemed to be struggling with herself. For a second, she looked like she might snap at me, and then she closed her eyes. She opened them and looked away at the whiteboard. You don't have a brother, do you? Any siblings, right? No, I'm an only child. Isabel shrugged. Then I don't know how I can explain. He's my brother. I thought he was dead, but he's not. He's alive. He's right there. But I don't know where that there is. I don't know what that is. But I think you do, only you won't help me. She looked at me and flashed her eyes, fierce. What have I ever done to you? I stumbled over the words. The truth was, Jack was her brother. It seemed like she ought to know. If only it wasn't Isabel asking, I said. Isabel, you have to know why I'm afraid to talk to you. I know you haven't done anything to me personally, but I know people you've destroyed. Just tell me why I should trust you. Isabel snatched back the photos and shuffled them back in her bag. What you said, because I've never done anything to you, or maybe because I think whatever's wrong with Jack, I think that's what's wrong with your boyfriend, too. Okay, I'm done. I was abnormally paralyzed by the thought of the photos that hadn't been, that I hadn't seen in the stack. There we go. Was Sam in there? Maybe Olivia had known about the wolves for longer than I had. I tried to replay... Wait a minute. Maybe that's the reason for their fighting. Where was I? I tried to replay exactly what Olivia had said during our argument, trying to remember any double meaning. Isabel was staring at me, waiting for me to say something, and I didn't know what to say. Finally, I snapped. Okay, stop staring at me, let me think. The classroom door thumped as students began strolling in for class. I ripped a page out of my notebook and jotted my phone number on it. That's my cell. Call me after school sometime and we'll figure out someplace to meet, I guess. Isabel took the number. I expected to see satisfaction on her face, but to my surprise, she looked as sick as I felt. The wolves were a secret no one wanted to share. Later that night, I'm assuming. We have a problem. Sam turned in the driver's seat to look at me. Aren't you supposed to still be in class? I got out early. Last class was art. Nobody was going to miss me and my hideous clay wire sculpture anyway. Isabel knows. Sam blinked slowly. Who's Isabel? Jack's sister, remember? I turned down the heat. Sam had said it to... and shoved my backpack down at my feet. I explained the confrontation to him, leaving out how creepy the Jack human photo was. I have no idea what the other photos were. Sam immediately bypassed the Isabel question. They were Olivia's photos? Yeah. Worry was written all over his face. I wonder if this has something to do with the way Olivia was at the bookstore with me. When I didn't answer, he looked at the steering wheel, or something just past it. If she knew what we were, it makes her entire eye comment very logical. She was trying to get us to confess. I said, yeah. Actually, that would have made a lot of sense. He sighed heavily. Suddenly, I'm thinking about what Rachel said, about the wolf that was at Olivia's house. Kitten! Wait. No. What are you doing? Oh, hi, Boots. He's okay. Kitten's kind of annoying, but Boots is okay. He's a good boy. No one likes him. He's like me. I closed my eyes and opened them again, still seeing the image of Jack with his arms wrapped around himself. I don't want to think about that. What about Isabel? I can't really avoid her, and I can't keep lying. I just look like an idiot. Sam half smiled at me. Well, I would ask you what sort of person she is, and what you thought we ought to do. But I suck at reading people, I finished for him. You said it, not me. Just remember that. Okay, so what do we do? Why do I feel like I'm the only one in panic mode here? You're completely calm. Sam shrugged. Total lack of preparedness for such a thing, probably. I don't think I know what to plan for without meeting her. If I had talked to her when she had the photos, maybe I'd be worried, but right now, I can't think of it concretely. I don't know. Isabel sounds like a pleasant sort of name. I laughed, barking up the wrong tree there. He made a melodramatic face, and the twisted, rueful agony in it was so overdone that it made me feel better. Is she awful? I used to think so. Now? I shrugged. Jury's still out. So what do we do? I think we have to meet her. Both of us? Where? Yes, both. This isn't just your problem. I don't know. Someplace quiet. Someplace I can get a feel for her before we decide what to tell her. He frowned. She wouldn't be the first family member to find out. I knew from his frown that he couldn't be talking about his parents. His expression would have changed if he had. She wouldn't? Beck's wife knew. Past tense? Breast cancer. It was long before me. I never knew her. I only found out about her from Paul, and by accident then. Beck didn't want me to know about her. I guess because most people don't do well with us, and he didn't want me thinking I could just go and get me a nice little life of my own or something. It seemed unfair that two such tragedies could strike a couple. I realized, too late to comment on it, that I almost missed the unfamiliar bitterness in his voice. I thought about saying something, asking him about Beck, but the moment was gone, lost in noise as Sam turned up the radio and hit the accelerator. He backed the Bronco out of the parking space, his forehead furrowed with thought. To heck with the rules, Sam said. I want to meet her. Well. Interesting. That was unexpected. I'm kind of hungry. I might eat some food before I record another video. But I think I'll go ahead and upload this one. Wow, that took a lot longer than I thought it was gonna. I'm the only one right now. I have a lot of animals to care for. Iggy's already in the bath, so I got a later start than I wanted. Oh well. Let me know what you guys thought, where the story's going. I was completely taken by surprise in a lot of places. It's not going places I thought it would. Oh, I bought Doom. If any of you would like to see me freak out playing that game, let me know down in the comments. And until next time, goodbye everybody.